Jasmine Crockett, 38, black, impeccable posture, determined gaze, adjusts her navy blue blazer in front of the mirror in a backstage dressing room. She takes a deep breath. Her phone rings. Assistant. Voice. Representative Crockett, 5 minutes until we start. The room is packed and social media is already exploding with the hashtag Truth Debate. Jasmine. To herself, in the mirror. Today isn't about you, Jasmine. It's about all the voices they try to silence. Jasmine picks up a small frame on the table, showing a humble family in front of a simple house in Texas. Jasmine, touching the photo. For you. A quick knock at the door interrupts her moment of reflection. Marcus Reynolds, 45, trusted advisor, wise eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, enters with a worried expression. Marcus. They're trying to change the format at the last minute. Limit your responses to 60 seconds, no visual aids. Jasmine. Calm, but firm. Not happening. We agreed to the terms 3 weeks ago. Marcus. Leavitt's team is saying it's standard procedure adjustment. Jasmine. Scoffs. Standard obstruction. The documents speak for themselves, Marcus. They can't hide behind procedural nonsense tonight. Marcus, lowering his voice. There's something else. We just got word that Senator Harrington might be in the audience. Jasmine, surprised. Harrington? He never takes sides publicly. Marcus, maybe he's not taking sides, maybe he's covering his own involvement. His signature is on page 47 of the Richardson report. Jasmine processes this information, her expression shifting from surprise to tactical calculation. Jasmine, tell our digital team to have that page ready to highlight if I give the signal. Marcus, are you sure? Harrington has powerful allies. Jasmine, with quiet intensity. So do the people whose stories were erased. So do I. A final knock at the door. Stagehand, OS. 2 minutes, Representative Crockett. Jasmine, straightening, her blazer. Let's go change some minds, Marcus. An imposing auditorium. Diverse audience filling every seat. Bright lights sweep across the crowd. 2 separate tables on an elevated stage. Palpable tension in the air. Network logos displayed prominently. Security personnel stationed at strategic points. In the front row, several recognizable politicians and media figures whisper among themselves. Senator Harrington, 65, distinguished, calculating eyes, sits rigid in his seat, checking his watch. Host. Powerful voice. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's national debate on justice reform and truth in media. Never has this conversation been more critical to our democracy. Applause thunders through the hall. Quick cuts show TV cameras, people streaming on phones, giant screens with audience ratings skyrocketing. A digital counter shows over 2 million viewers already watching online. Host. With us tonight are 2 voices that represent the diverging perspectives on how we approach justice and accountability in America. 2 women who stand at the forefront of this national conversation. The host gestures dramatically to the left entrance. Host. On one side, Texas Representative, former public defender, and the woman who Forbes called the conscience of Congress, Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine enters with firm steps, her expression determined yet serene. Enthusiastic applause erupts from one side of the auditorium, with scattered standing ovations. Some discreet boos emerge from another section quickly, drowned out by supportive cheers. As she walks, Jasmine acknowledges several community leaders in the front row with subtle nods. She places her tablet and a leather portfolio on the table, arranging them with precision. Host. And on the other, White House spokesperson, the youngest person to ever hold this prestigious position, and Harvard Law graduate, Karoline Leavitt. Karoline Leavitt, 27, blonde, confident expression, rehearsed smile, walks in with practiced poise, waving to the audience. Her team of advisors watches intensely from the wings. Polite, controlled applause follows her entrance. She carries nothing but a slim leather folio embossed with the White House seal. In the sound booth above the audience, technicians adjust levels while producers speak rapidly into headsets. A digital map shows the broadcast reaching all 50 states, plus international viewers. Sound technician. Into headset. We're picking up some interference on Crockett's mic. Can we? Producer. Fix it now. This is going to be the highest-rated debate of the year. I want perfect audio. Jasmine. And Karoline seated, microphones in front. A massive high-definition screen dominates the background. The moderator, 50s respected journalist with a reputation for impartiality, stands at a central podium. Moderator. Good evening, America. Tonight we address issues that affect the very foundation of our justice system. Our format tonight includes opening statements followed by directed questions, with 2 minutes for initial responses and 1 minute for rebuttals. By coin toss, Ms. Leavitt will begin. Karoline adjusts her microphone with practiced ease. Karoline. Measured, rehearsed tone. Thank you. It's an honor to represent the administration tonight on these critical issues. Our commitment to transparency and justice has never been stronger. We've increased funding for community policing by 28% and established the Presidential Commission on Equitable Justice. The facts speak for themselves. Crime rates have decreased in 73% of major metropolitan areas under our watch. America is safer because of our policies. The audience applauds politely. Jasmine watches Karoline carefully, her expression neutral but alert. Moderator. Representative Crockett, your opening statement. Jasmine. Rising slightly from her seat. I didn't come to Washington to win debates. I came to make a difference. Before politics, I stood in courtrooms representing those who couldn't afford a voice. I saw firsthand how statistics and reports shape policy, and how easily they can be manipulated to serve power rather than people. Tonight isn't about political points. It's about whether we have the courage to face uncomfortable truths about our justice system. Because justice delayed is justice denied, and truth suppressed is democracy diminished. Stronger applause, some audience members nodding vigorously. Karoline maintains her composed smile, but her eyes betray irritation. Moderator. Ms. Leavitt, the first question is yours. Recent reports indicate data on police violence has been suppressed in key states. Several journalists have filed Freedom of Information Act requests that were denied. What's your response to these allegations? Karoline. Polite smile, but her knuckles whiten as she grips her pen. These allegations are typical of the sensationalist media looking for headlines rather than substance. Our law enforcement agencies work tirelessly to protect Americans in incredibly difficult circumstances. The administration has been transparent with crime statistics, publishing quarterly reports accessible to all citizens. Any suggestion of manipulation is not only false but represents an irresponsible attempt to destabilize our institutions and undermine public trust in the brave men and women who protect us daily. Karoline glances at notes passed discreetly by an aide standing just off camera. Karoline. Furthermore, I'd like to clarify that FOIA requests were delayed, not denied due to necessary security protocols, a standard practice across administrations of both parties. Close up on Jasmine, who takes notes without showing reaction, though her pen pauses briefly at Karoline's last statement. Moderator. Representative Crockett. Your response. Jasmine. Looking directly at the camera, her voice measured but carrying undeniable intensity. When I was a public defender in Dallas, I learned something crucial. Facts aren't allegations or suggestions. They're realities. That shape lives, real people's lives. Ms. Leavitt speaks of transparency, but transparency isn't a press release or a carefully curated report. It's the raw, unfiltered truth, even when that truth is uncomfortable. Jasmine leans forward, her gaze unwavering. Jasmine. And the reality is that I have here. Jasmine raises a tablet, its screen glowing with documents. Jasmine. County. Allegations, but documents proving that data on police violence in minority communities was deliberately omitted from official reports over the past 14 months. Not delayed, Ms. Leavitt. Omitted. These aren't FOIA requests that were delayed. These are internal communications showing a systemic pattern of suppression. Murmurs ripple through the audience. Several journalists in the press section sit up, straighter, furiously taking notes. Karoline shifts uncomfortably, her practiced composure momentarily cracking. She whispers urgently to an aide who appears suddenly alarmed. In a state-of-the-art TV control room, rows of technicians and producers monitor dozens of screens. Director Michelle Wong, 40s, experienced unflappable, calls shots while executive producer Richard Gaines, 60s, powerful media veteran, speaks urgently on the phone, sweat forming on his brow. Richard. Into phone. This wasn't part of the agreement. Cut to commercial if she shows those documents. We can't risk. Michelle. Interrupting. Sir, we're live on 5 networks plus streaming. We can't cut now without creating an even bigger story. Technician. Monitoring social media. Sir, your Crockett documents is already trending. Cutting now would look like censorship. Richard. Panicking. Then get me Leavitt's team on the line, now, and tell the moderator to intervene. Michelle. Hand over mic to Richard. The administration promised this debate would not be censored. It was in the contract. Richard. Hissing. That was before she brought unauthorized materials. In the auditorium, tension crackles like electricity. Camera operators zoom in on both women. Karoline's smile has completely faded, replaced by a brittle mask of professionalism, barely concealing alarm. Karoline, voice slightly higher than before. These so-called documents haven't been verified by any independent source. Without proper context or authentication, this appears to be nothing more than a calculated publicity stunt designed to create sensational headlines rather than meaningful dialogue. Karoline's aide slides her a note. She glances at it, then continues, with renewed confidence. Karoline. The American people deserve better than theatrical displays of unsubstantiated claims. Jasmine. With unsettling calmness. Is that why your office sent 3 cease and desist letters to my team last night? Because these are just so-called documents? If they're meaningless, why the urgent legal threats at 11 p.m.? Gasps ripple through the audience. Several phones illuminate as people begin recording. Senator Harrington shifts uncomfortably in his seat, checking his watch again. On the massive screen behind them, social media metrics suddenly appear, showing trending hashtags in real time. Crockett receipts. Leavitt lies. Truth debate. The numbers climb rapidly as millions engage online. Karoline. Defensive, adjusting her collar slightly. That's a complete mischaracterization of standard legal protocol. We were simply ensuring proper channels were followed for potentially sensitive information. The administration takes information security seriously, something that appears to be lacking in your approach tonight. The moderator attempts to interject, but Jasmine raises her hand slightly, her poise commanding attention, without raising her voice. Jasmine. Let me be very clear about what proper channels have looked like in practice. 3 community oversight boards that requested this data were disbanded. 6 journalists who filed Freedom of Information requests were subjected to unprecedented background checks. A Congressional subcommittee's investigation was blocked on national security grounds. These aren't channels. They're barriers designed to obstruct the truth. Jasmine. Is that what you call proper channels? Like the ones used when your administration buried the Richardson report? The audience stirs. Several journalists in the press section look at each other with sudden interest. Camera operators instinctively zoom in tighter on both women. Moderator. Trying to interject, clearly thrown off script. The Richardson report isn't on tonight's agenda. Jasmine, firmly but respectfully. With respect, Madam Moderator, the Richardson report is exactly what's on tonight's agenda. It always has been, because it contains comprehensive evidence that police violence data was systematically suppressed, specifically to push legislation that would reduce accountability in law enforcement. This isn't about politics. This is about whether we're willing to base our policies on truth or on convenient fiction. The audience is buzzing now. Several people stand to get a better view. Security guards stationed around the perimeter look at each other nervously, hands moving to their earpieces. In the front row, Senator Harrington's face has drained of color. He discreetly signals to an aide who immediately leaves the auditorium. Karoline laughs incredulously, but it sounds forced. This is becoming absurd. The so-called Richardson report is nothing more than a conspiracy theory circulated in fringe online forums. It's never been substantiated by any credible source. Jasmine pulls out a flash drive, holding it up so cameras can capture it clearly. Then why does this drive contain emails between your office and 3 major media conglomerates discussing how to minimize exposure of its findings? Why does it contain directives from your communications team to pivot public attention away from its conclusions? The flash drive gleams under the stage lights. Suddenly, the most important object in the room. Jasmine. Continuing. And why? Ms. Leavitt, does it contain a memo from your office dated March 15th stating, and I quote, "The Richardson findings present significant narrative challenges that must be neutralized before the funding vote"? The crowd erupts in murmurs and exclamations. Someone shouts, "Let her speak," from the back of the auditorium. Backstage, Chief of Staff Daniel Foster, 50s political veteran expression of controlled panic, speaks urgently into a secure phone, pacing in tight circles. Daniel. She has the emails. Yes, all of them, including the Harrington correspondence. No, we can't stop this now. The damn thing is streaming everywhere. He listens to the voice on the other end, grimacing. Daniel. I understand the implications, sir, but cutting the feed would only confirm everything she's saying. In the control room, Richard is frantically signaling to Michelle. Richard, can we at least cut her mic when she goes off topic? Michelle. Firmly. That's not how this works, and you know it. We agreed to broadcast this debate unedited. Technician. Monitoring feeds. We just hit 6 million concurrent viewers. This is breaking records. Back in the auditorium, the moderator appears torn between protocol and the unprecedented moment unfolding before her. Jasmine rises from her seat with deliberate calm. The atmosphere crackles with tension. Every eye in the room is fixed on her. Jasmine, voice resonating with conviction. For too long, we've allowed power to hide behind carefully crafted statements and manipulated data. We've accepted official narratives while ignoring the lived experiences of communities across this nation. Tonight, that ends. She moves toward the central podium with measured steps. Karoline's team whispers urgently, passing notes. Security. Personnel touch their earpieces, awaiting instructions. Karoline. Voice rising. This is completely inappropriate. This violates the agreed debate format. Moderator, please intervene. The moderator hesitates, visibly conflicted between maintaining order and allowing this moment of potential significance to unfold. Moderator. Representative Crockett, we should adhere to the... Jasmine. Calmly but firmly. The American people deserve the truth, Ms. Leavitt. Not a sanitized version, not a politically convenient version, the complete truth. And tonight they're going to get it. She connects her flash drive to the podium's integrated system. The massive screen behind her flickers, then illuminates with a document. The White House header is clearly visible at the top. A collective gasp ripples through the audience. Several people rise to their feet. Camera operators zoom in on the document, broadcasting it to millions. Jasmine. This email, dated February 17th, shows your office instructing network executives to, and these are exact words, downplay statistics from urban precincts and emphasize isolated incidents of violence against officers. It explicitly directs media partners to avoid racial demographics and violence reporting, and focus coverage on positive police-community interactions. The screen changes to show another document. Jasmine. This directive from your communications office instructed data analysts to use, again, exact quote, alternative statistical methodologies when compiling the annual law enforcement accountability report. The result? Reported incidents of excessive force dropped by 48% overnight. Not because they stopped happening, but because they stopped being counted. Karoline's face has drained of color. She whispers frantically to an aide who appears increasingly distressed. The aide shows her something on a phone that makes Karoline freeze momentarily. In his front row seat, Senator Harrington stands abruptly and attempts to leave, but the cameras have already captured his reaction. Jasmine notices. Jasmine, with pointed calm. Senator Harrington, you might want to stay for this next part. It concerns you directly. The senator pauses, then slowly returns to his seat, his face a mask of controlled panic. In the control room, all pretense of neutrality has vanished. The entire team watches in stunned silence as history unfolds on their monitors. Technician. Whispering. Holy shit, is this really happening? Michelle. Professionally composed, but eyes wide to keep every camera rolling. Document everything. Jasmine. But this isn't just about manipulated media coverage or statistical sleight of hand. It's about lives. Real people affected by policies built on deliberate misinformation. She presses a button and the screen changes to show faces. Diverse, ordinary Americans of all ages and backgrounds. The images are powerful in their simplicity. Jasmine. Voice softening with genuine emotion. These are the people whose stories were erased. Maria Gutierrez, a nurse whose son was detained without cause for 72 hours. James Washington, a ISYAB veteran whose complaint about excessive force was classified as unsubstantiated, despite video evidence. Elijah Bryant, a college student left with permanent injuries after a routine traffic stop. The audience is completely silent now, transfixed by the faces on screen. Jasmine. These are the Americans whose experiences were deemed inconvenient for your narrative, who were told their reality didn't match official statistics, who were gaslit by the very institutions meant to protect them. Karoline, desperately rising from her seat. This is an outrageous violation of confidentiality protocols. Those emails are classified communications. This is potentially illegal and, Jasmine, and with steel in her voice, are matter of public interest when they show abuse of power. You know that, I know that, and now, America knows that. She gestures to the screen, which now shows page 47 of the Richardson report, with Senator Harrington's signature clearly visible at the bottom. Jasmine. The law is clear, Ms. Leavitt. Confidentiality cannot be used to shield misconduct. Classification cannot be used to hide wrongdoing from the American people. Thunderous. Applause erupts from large sections of the auditorium. Several people are on their feet. In the press section, journalists are frantically typing, calling editors, some looking stunned at what they're witnessing. Jasmine. The complete Richardson report, all 342 pages, concluded that police violence in minority communities was systematically underreported by 64%. Your office knew this. Senator Harrington's committee knew this. You collectively buried it. And then you crafted legislation based on the lie that such violence was decreasing. The screen changes to show side-by-side statistics, the manipulated numbers versus the actual data. Karoline. Flustered, shuffling papers frantically. These are highly complex statistical issues that require proper context and methodological understanding. The public can't possibly grasp. Jasmine. Interrupting with quiet authority. There's nothing complex about the truth, Ms. Leavitt. The American people aren't stupid. They understand when they're being lied to. She points to specific numbers. On the screen. Jasmine. When 73% of incidents in predominantly Black and Latino neighborhoods are either downgraded in severity or omitted entirely from official reports, that's not a statistical anomaly. That's a pattern. When federal funding for community oversight is cut based on artificially lowered incident rates, that's not a coincidence. That's cause and effect. In the audience, a woman stands, tears streaming down her face. Others around her place supportive hands on her shoulders. Woman in audience, voice breaking but determined. My son's name was Andre Willis. He's one of those statistics. The auditorium falls completely silent. Even the usual ambient sounds of a large venue, the rustling, the whispers, the subtle movements, have ceased. Every person is perfectly still, hanging on Jasmine's every word. Jasmine. Voice resonating with quiet power. When I became a lawyer, I swore to uphold justice. When I became a representative, I swore to serve the people, not some of the people, not just the people whose stories are convenient, not just the people with power and privilege, all the people. That oath means nothing if we allow truth to be the first casualty of political expediency. The screen behind her splits to show live social media feeds exploding with reactions. Crockett expose and Richardson report trend globally. News tickers across major networks run urgent headlines. Breaking: Congressman Crockett reveals suppressed police violence data, and White House spokesperson confronted with alleged evidence of data manipulation. Jasmine. I've made a decision tonight that some will call reckless. Others will call it necessary. I call it my duty. She holds up her tablet, ensuring every camera captures the moment. Jasmine. I'm releasing the complete Richardson report, all 342 pages, and all associated communications, memoranda, and supporting documentation to every major news outlet in the country, and directly to the public through a secure, independent website right now. She presses a button on her tablet. The screen behind her changes to show a website called truthunredacted.org with a timer counting down from 60 seconds. Jasmine. In 1 minute, this information becomes accessible to every American. No more hiding, no more manipulation, no more gaslighting communities about their lived experiences. Just the truth. Unfiltered. Unredacted. The countdown continues. 45 seconds. 40 seconds. Karoline stands abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. Her hands shake slightly as she violently removes her microphone, tossing it onto the table. Karoline. Voice trembling with barely controlled fury. This debate is over. This is nothing short of political terrorism. You'll be hearing from our attorneys before the night is over. Jasmine Crockett with remarkable calmness. I look forward to it. In a public courtroom, where the American people can hear everything, where the evidence can speak for itself. The countdown reaches 10 seconds. The entire audience watches, mesmerized. Jasmine. The light of transparency is the best disinfectant for the rot of deception. The countdown hits 0. The website on screen goes live. Documents appearing in Organize. Moderator. Stunned. We'll take a short break. But the cameras keep rolling as people approach Jasmine, phones recording, questions flying. She stands firm, composed in the chaos. Journalist. Representative Crockett. What happens next? Jasmine. Directly to camera. What happens next is up to us, all of us. Will we demand accountability? Will we insist that our institutions serve truth rather than power? I've done my part, now it's your turn. The auditorium is in an uproar, people are on their feet. Jasmine stands calm at the center of the storm, a single figure radiating determination amid the chaos. Jasmine. Softly to herself. Truth doesn't fear the light. The cameras push in on her face, serene, resolved, unyielding, as the crowd around her thunders with applause.